I'm telling you right now, man, this is the second fight on these prelims that I'm just shocked isn't worthy of a main card appearance. We've got Punahele Soriano and Brendan Allen, and this basically pits two of the best gyms 2020, 2021 over the last year or two. Extreme Couture and Sanford MMA. Eric Nixick, Henry Hooft. I mean, it doesn't get better than that right now. I feel like American Top Team, Greg Jackson and AKA, those five gyms right now are where everyone's kind of going, not only because of the pandemic, but they're just producing, and you can't ignore that. And so in this fight, I love when we get these coaches matchups. The more you follow me, the more you're going to realize my love is truly for the fighters and primarily the coaching, what goes into this kind of a product to create those game plans and help us break these fights down. This is exactly it. Elite level coaching with very much the new breed of UFC fighters, because I think that Brendan Allen and Puna bring so much to the table. And let's talk about Puna first, right? We know about those southpaws, right? I love that shit. But power, man. This guy's got power in his left hook that is just laying guys out. We got the Piotr fight, which was UFC debut after a pretty interesting performance on Dana White's Contender Series against Pickett. There you go, baby. Memory serves us right even at old age. But, that was an interesting fight, right? I felt like he was really disappointed in not getting the finish, but the striking's there. And the one thing about that fight that kind of exemplifies something that we don't really get to see at the UFC level right now is his cardio, his ability to go the 3 rounds. The one thing that I've noticed in his 2 UFC fights is he's just head hunting at all times. And all the power to you when you can land like that. But the big thing for me is when you look at Brendan Allen and what he might bring to the table, I think he's going to be able to switch gears a lot better. I think when you talk about a guy like Dusko Todorovic who wants to stand and bang, I think for him it's more of a confidence shoot, right? I think that he's telling himself in that moment, I should be able to bang with this guy, and so let me keep going. Unfortunately, not the smartest idea. Puna was able to just really finish him with a couple left hooks and dropped him, I would say, at least 3 times in that round. Just an absolute beautiful showing for his, what would be considered second UFC fight, but third with the organization, if you know what I mean. And he's just getting better. So quick breakdown of him. You can hear Coach Nixick just constantly yelling at him in that fight. And the one thing I want to point out is you can notice that Puna goes from looping hooks and shots in that fight to starting to throw them straight up. And so when he starts throwing straight punches in that fight, just go ahead, no answer. And I don't know if that was the transition of throwing, looping to then throwing straight, which maybe threw him off in general, but it was just so obvious that the power factor was 100% on Puna's side, but then also just the technical switch on the fly like that really got him that finish in the end. And you look at the other fight, right before that, the debut against Piotr, very similar outset, right? Like just constantly looking for those big punches and was able to find it with ease. And so when we go look at Brendan Allen, you have the Sean Strickland fight, right? That's the real fight where you can say I think Sean Strickland is not only probably my favorite middleweight right now, like on the rise into this title challenge expect, but I was bumping this guy as a welterweight for so goddamn long before that motorcycle accident that I'm very much interested to see what he does against Uriah Hall, because he's on the verge of top 5 fighters in my opinion. But for Brendan Allen to get a guy like that and get finished by him, what was wrong in that fight? When you look at the way Brendan Allen fought in that fight versus his most recent fight against Carl Robertson, tell me the guy did not realize exactly what he had to work on and went to work. You look at the way he was almost upright a lot of the fight. He didn't look comfortable against Sean. And the thing about Sean is he just is becoming such a great prototypical boxer, right? Nothing fancy. He's not throwing these spinning kicks and looping Superman punches, man. That 1-2 is getting so good that not only was Brendan Allen eating shots, but it was just stopping him from setting anything up. He just kept eating shots in that first round. A couple of these stiff jabs were even kind of rocking him a bit, putting him on his back foot, backing up into the fence. And in that second round, it was just party done, right? Anytime that Brendan really tried to open up and throw something, Strickland had an answer for it. You talk about the calf kick. There was a moment in that second round where he very early in the round landed a calf kick, and maybe it stumbled shot a bit, but what was interesting about that is the moment that Brendan tried to throw a kick anytime after that, Sean had that timing down to feed him with another jab. So where I really thought that Brendan went wrong in that fight Not too many places. Sean just did everything to perfection. I think he gauged that range with Brendan so quickly that being able to land that 1-2 pretty much within the first minute of the first round is what helped him just set everything up leading into the knockout blow. And with Brendan, I really think that he was fighting a guy where experience-wise and just pure skill, especially against the fence, he tried to get him there and Sean would reverse him right away. So if there was any fight where you kind of told Brendan Allen, great attempt, I think that was one where he was kind of getting a little bit of above when it comes to the Sharks of that division, because Sean's on his way up as a middleweight, but the guy was an absolute beast before that as a welterweight. And so you look at Brendan Allen, right? UFC debut against Kevin Holland, submitted him. Great showing of the Dana White Contender Series. The Kyle Dawkins fight was one of my favorite ones during the pandemic because I felt like it was a real culmination of two of the young stars that could really start to come up in the UFC middleweight division. But Brendan Allen stole that show as well. Then you talk about quickly the Carl Robertson fight, and frankly, everything that he did wrong in that Sean Strickland fight, he worked on. The head movement was obvious from the beginning. Yeah, he ate a couple shots, but the confidence was there. He set everything up with his kicks. That's exactly what he has to do with Pune. I mean, you talk about path to victory, right? I'm going to say that the way he fought the Carl Robertson fight is exactly what he needs to do in this fight, right? I mean, you got Carl Robertson, ex-kickboxer's got power in his hands. I mean, he just worked his way into the fence with good kicks and some punches to then be able to work some takedowns, and obviously submitted him via heel hook pretty early in that round. Pretty late in the round, very early in the fight. So that's where I'm actually seeing a good path to victory for Brendan Allen, right? It's to work the kicks. Don't get into boxing range with some of these killers, man. Keep it a bit distant. Find that range with landing big kicks. Use the calf kick to slow him down. Get that power edge away from him, because I do think that comparing Pune and Sean Strickland, I mean, I do want to say that Soriano has a lot of work to do to get to that level. And so if he can use the calf kicks, if he can use the body kicks against the southpaw, kind of like what I thought, Benitez was going to do against Billy Q. Billy Q, you're a beast for that fight. I'm going to say it again. But when we go back into that, those ranges where he can actually work in a clinch, work in a takedown, that's where Brendan needs this fight to go almost instantaneously. So whatever he needs to do to get it there, that should be the game plan. Because if he starts to brawl and really wants to get into these, boxing range matchups with a guy like Pune, you are playing with fire. And I think that with Brendan Allen, you've seen those scenarios where he's taking on those really good boxers. And frankly, Sean wasn't even throwing looping, powerful strikes, man. It was just textbook 1-2s with nice little hooks coming in at the side anytime he saw the opening and was landing. I think in this fight, you're going to have a bit more of the looping that's coming. But again, we saw Pune really fix things up against Dusko. And so if those straight punches are coming, not only is Brendan Allen going to have to kind of face that similar adversity that he did against Sean, but it's going to be about working into that game plan. Don't stand there and think you can trade with them when things are actually landing. Start to work those kicks. Work the body when you can. Keep those hands up when you're throwing kicks to avoid any big knockouts, and just get it up against the fence. I think that's going to be the areas where you can start to tire him out. He should have a cardio advantage. Been doing this for a bit longer. And then you go to the Pune side, right? Path to victory is very obvious. Get in close. Don't let those kicks keep you at bay. Have that confidence to go in with your strikes and start setting up your combos. The one thing about Pune that's so obvious is not only can he break people, but he has a sense of when he breaks you. When he gets into those combos and he lands one or two of those and he feels you stumble, he's going balls to the wall, and I don't think it matters what you throw back because he's willing to eat those punches and just lay you out. And that's where I'm seeing such an exciting fight. And so when we talk about lines, the UFC and just betting trends in general with Vegas, kind of surprising when you have guys like this, right? Punahele is the kind of guy where you've seen so little tape, but he's done so much in that, right? So it's just recency bias as a favorite really kind of tickles my fancy here. I think that Pune could get a lot of bump with what he's done in just over a year as a UFC fighter, whereas Brendan Allen, to the diehards, you're going to look at that record and be like, holy mother of God, this guy has taken on so many beasts in less than 5 to 10 UFC fights that he has a lot under his belt despite not even reaching anywhere close to his 30th birthday. In fact, for both these guys. So I really want to give Brendan Allen the bump in this fight because I think that the Carl Robertson fight showed you how much work he's put into in dealing with big-time strikers. And yes, the left-hand power from Punahele is so massive, but I think the training partner side of things for Brendan Allen should help him balance all of that out. I think he's going to get good looks in training camp, and he's going to be able to figure this part out. Now, for Punahele, exact same thing, man. I think he's going to get a lot of these good all-around guys in Extreme Couture, and I think he's going to be able to figure out how to avoid some of these kicks and body damage and start to lay guys out with those big combos, because the one thing about him is I'm not sure how he's going to look in the rounds 2 and 3 when he's in these grueling battles with a guy like Brendan Allen. That is something else to keep in mind. But outside of that, amazing fight to finish off the prelims, and frankly should be on the main card. So let's take a look at these lines. I'm going to give the edge to Punahele only because of what I believe is recency bias. Just such an exciting fighter and done it in so little time, which does kind of not only help set the lines for Vegas, but the public tends to always go that way, very much gravitating towards the finisher. So let's take a look. I have confidence that that's going to be the case. And, exactly what I was saying. So Punahele opens the -220 with Brendan Allen's a +185, man. If you landed that +185 on Brendan Allen, congratulations. Win or lose, that is some serious value that you're just not going to get anymore. And as I say that, the current lines for this fight, pick them. It's between -120 and -110 across the board. Some people got Brendan Allen as the -105, with Soriano coming in as that -115. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a pick'em. This is where game plan and all of that type of execution comes into play, and I cannot wait for this fight. And frankly, I don't even know if this is one you want to put money on and just sit back and enjoy. Popcorn fights, baby. Let's go.